Welcome back. In this section, we are going to be talking about variables and data types. And in this lesson, we are looking into an important concept in Python and programming generally, and that is variables. When we talk about variables, you can think of a variable as a storage box that holds information you want to work with in your program. Imagine a variable like a storage box. When you are organizing your space, you might have a box labeled books where you put all your books. Later, when you need a book, you just go to that box to get the book instead of scattering books all over the place. In programming, variables act like these boxes. You store a value like a number or a piece of text inside that variable. Then you label it with a name. And then whenever you need that information, you just refer to that variable's name instead of remembering the exact value of the variable. Alright, now let's create our first variable. In Python, declaring a variable is as simple as picking a name and assigning a value to that name using the equal symbol. So let's start with a variable and call it age, and then we are going to set the value of age to 25. So to create the variable, you type the name of the variable. So we are calling it age now. To assign a value to that variable, you use the equal symbol, and then you write the value of that variable, which is 25 in our case. So here, age is our variable, and we assign it the value of 25 using the equal symbol. This equal symbol is called the assignment operator because it assigns the value on the right to the variable on the left. So if you want to print the value of age now, we just use the print function, which we get to use in our last lesson. And then you pass the variable name into print. And then you run your code using this run symbol. So if we run it now, so you can see now that 25 is printed in our console. What we printed in our code is actually age, but what was displayed in our console is the value of age. This is how variable works. One thing about variable is that we can change their values whenever we need to. For example, if we later find out that age should be 30 instead of 25, what we do is we just reassign 30 to age. So to do that, you can come to a new line. Let's come to a new line. So we want to reassign another value to age now. So you are going to say age is equal to 30 instead of 25. So if we print age now, what we are going to have in our console is going to be 30. So when age was declared, when it was initialized, we have 25 as the value of age. So at this level, age is still 25. That's why we have 25 here. So at this level, a new value is reassigned to age. So we are assigning 30 to age here. So at this value, at this printing level, what we have as the value of age is 30. In programming, this process of changing a variable's value is called reassignment. We are reassigning a new value to the variable. All right, there's a little exercise we have here. Let's try this out together. So you follow the steps that I wrote out as you can see them on the screen. Open your PyCharm to the last project we created. Create a variable and name it num1. This is the name of the variable you want to create and set it to any number you like. The next step, create another variable and name it num2. Set the value to any other number you like. Then print out their sum by adding the variables together. Just in case you've closed your PyCharm after the last lesson. So let me close this so we open it together. All right, so I'm going to open my PyCharm now. So by default, whenever you open PyCharm, it's going to reopen to the last project you are working on. But if you don't want your PyCharm to be opening to the last project, if you want it to be opening on a fresh page, so you go to your settings. We have settings here. Go to your settings. Okay, so you are going to go to appearance and behavior, come to system settings. Okay, so you uncheck this box, reopen projects on startup. So if you uncheck this, you apply and then okay. So if you close PyCharm now, it's not going to reopen to your last project. All right, so you can see now that it's opening on a new window, like a fresh page. So if you want to open your last project, you just click on it here. If you want to open another project, you click on this. We are just going to open our last project. All right, now try out the exercise. Pause the video and try it yourself. Come back when you are done. If you are stuck at any point, open your search engine and search for how to do whatever step you are stuck on. As a programmer, your search engine will be your best friend because you will always need to find out to do one thing or the other. So pause the video now. I'll be waiting for you when you are done. All right, welcome back. Now let's get to the solution. So from the instruction, we are asked to create a variable with the name of num1. So I'm going to call that num1. Okay, so I'm going to assign the value of, let me assign 20. All right, and then I'm going to create another variable with the name of num2. And I'm going to assign the value of, let's say, 26. All right, so to add them together now, so we can say sum. We can create another variable with the name of sum. Okay, so we're going to say num1 plus num2, right? So we're going to print sum. Okay, if you override this now, we are going to see a prompt from PyCharm that the name of our variable is shadowing built-in name of sum. So we are going to get to that in our next lesson. So we can give this another name. Let's call it or sum of numbers. Okay, so let's call this, we are printing sum of numbers. Right, if we print this now, so as you can see, the sum of numbers is now 46. This 25 and 30 is the result of this line. So we can get rid of this line and this line. All right. So if we run this again, so we are going to have the sum of our numbers. Num1 is 20 and num2 is 26. So 20 plus 26 is going to give us 46. There are few common mistakes that occur when working with variables. One of these mistakes is trying to use a variable before defining it. So let's say here we have num1 and we have num2. So let's say at this level, before defining num1, we are trying to print num1. Okay, so if we run this now, what do we have? So you can see we run into error. We have name error. And the error is saying that num1 is not defined. This is because we are trying to access num1 before its definition. This is going to run into name error. Take note of that. You don't use a variable before it is defined. You can only use a variable after it has been defined. So I moved it down now. If I run it again, so you can see we have num1 to be 20 and the sum of numbers to be 56. Another mistake with variables is wrong casing. Python is case sensitive. For example, here we have age with lowercase. If you try to print age with uppercase now, you are going to run into another name error because age with capital letter A is different from age with small letter a. So Python is case sensitive. So always make sure to use the correct casing whenever you are using your variable. In our next lesson, we take these variable basics further and talk about how to name variables properly, also following conventions that make your code easier to read. Nice work. See you in the next lesson.